Hello everyone and welcome back to the Fischer Random World Championship. We have an absolute thriller of a game between two world champions, World Rapid Champion Nodirbek Abdusattorov and World Fischer Random Champion Wesley. So this is the second game of their match, and first the game ended in a brutal draw. Wesley had he already had a winning position on like move 19, but he missed the win. Then Nodirbek got back into the game, and then throughout the entire game, it lasted like 80 moves. Wesley was winning on a few other occasions, but he was unable to take the full point. In the end, the game ended by repetition of moves, with Abdusattorov having, I think, Wesley having a knight and bishop for a rook, with queen still on the board. It was a really crazy position. There was no way to get out of check. So Wesley was very sad that he couldn't grab the full point with the white pieces, and now he has the black pieces against Nodirbek. So let's see how this game went, as it's also a pretty wild one. So let's dive straight into it. If you guys are interested, this is the photo before the actual game. You can see that FIDE president Carlsen making the first move. Both of them very happy. You can see Nodirbek can't wait for the game to start, just staring at Wesley. You can see very rarely will you see eye contact. So here at least you have an attempt at eye contact by Nodirbek Abdusattorov, maybe something the new generation is bringing to the chess world, but we'll see how it goes. And you can see that Arkady Dvorkovich made the first move, pawn to g3, which is the move that Nodirbek actually played. So probably he asked him before what move he wants to play, or maybe he just guessed it, who knows. But okay, Abdusattorov does go for pawn to g3. We have pawn to g6 by Wesley, and now knight to f3, already clearing the king side for white to castle. We have pawn to c5, and already Nodirbek just castles king side. We have knight to c6, pawn to c3, and now pawn to d5. We have pawn to d4, and captures. And here you have this position where nothing is really happening, but white has some very unpleasant pressure against black's position. Wesley's king still in the center of the board. You can always capture on e4, but you never really want to do it. You kind of want to start developing. Do you go bishop to h3? Do you attack the rook? Do you go knight to f6? So there are many possibilities here. Wesley goes for bishop to g4. If he plays bishop to h3, the rook is going to e1 regardless of that bishop. So he says better to put the bishop here to prevent the advancement of the e pawn. So okay, rook f to e1 defends the e2 pawn. Queen to c8 now brings the queen into the game, and now bishop to e3. Now with some ideas of maybe even capturing on c6 and picking up the a7 pawn. So Wesley just trades on d4. We have captures, pawn captures on d4, and now bishop to g7. We have rook to c1, now claiming the c file for the rooks. Queen to e6 by Wesley, and now rook to c7. A very nice rook lift going after the b7 pawn. So queen to b6, Wesley defends it, and now you would expect something like rook e to c1, doubling up on the c file, and it is in fact the engine stop recommendation. The problem is, are you sure about giving up the e2 pawn? And if you're not sure, maybe you just don't do this. So here, that's the beauty of chess 960. You just don't sacrifice a pawn on move 11 on a hunch, even though it's probably good. But okay, rook to c5 by Nodirbek, just getting the rook out of harm's way. We have knight to f6, and now knight to c3. We have castles. So Wesley also castles his king to safety, and pawn to a4. Now preparing pawn to a5, b4, and so on. So here we have bishop back to e6, also adding more defense to that. The d5 pawn it's attacked by the rook, by the knight, by the bishop on h1, and now pawn to a5, kicking away the queen. Queen to a6, and pawn to b4. So now you know that b5 is coming, and then, well, if b5 comes, let's say queen d6, bishop f4, you might soon run out of squares for your queen. So here, rook to c8, clearing that d8 square for the black queen if b5 comes. And now we have bishop to f4. By Nodirbek. Also very interesting is queen to a4, but it's merely a matter of how you want to trade queens. Now, let's say b6 captures on a4, and after knight captures, pawn captures on b6. Now knight will be captured on b6, attacking the rook here, and after rook to b8, you can play something like rook to c6, and white keeps a very unpleasant pressure here on the queen side. The rook can come to b1. You will already have a rook behind the passed b pawn, so you can start advancing it. Very unpleasant for Wesley. But okay, this is rapid chess, and also it's Fischer random. So bishop to f4. We have b6 now. A captures on b6. Queen captures on a1, and now we have a queen trade. Captures, captures. The rook is now attacked. We have rook captures on c8. Rook captures, and knight to b5 now. We have bishop to d7. Attacking the knight here, and knight to c7 now. We have pawn to e6, defending the pawn on d5, and knight to a8, going after the b6 pawn. We have knight to h5, now saying, okay, if you capture on b6, you go after the rook. I'm just going to capture on d4 and go after your rook on a1. So you have to defend on d4, either by playing bishop to e5 or by playing bishop to e3. Nodirbek prefers to keep the bishops on the board. He goes bishop to e3, and now is the moment where the magic happens, and it's a really wonderful position, a really complicated one, and it will show you how strong these guys really are. So here Wesley played rook to b8. The pawn is hanging, you have to defend the pawn. He plays rook to b8, which turns out not to be the greatest of moves. The way to actually defend the pawn is by not defending it. You have to give it up in order to pick up the b4 pawn. That's how you play it. Bishop c6, let's say, goes after the knight, and then after knight picks up the pawn, now you play rook to b8, attack the knight and the pawn, and after the knight moves, knight c4, because if pawn captures, then bishop captures on c6. Now you just win back your pawn. Rook captures on b4, and okay, knight gets the fancy e5 square, but let's say bishop captures, d captures f6, you free up the f7 square for your king, captures, captures, and you get this position where, okay, Nodirbek has the bishop pair, but it's equal material, nothing spectacular happening here. However, after Wesley's move, rook to b8, it becomes much different. Here we have pawn to g4. Pushing the knight away from the control over the f4 square, knight to f6, and bishop to f4 now. Attacking that rook, rook to b7, you have to keep defending the pawn on b6, and now comes knight to c7. Freeing up the back rank for the white rook. And now, how do you play this? We have pawn to h5 by Wesley. Pawn to h6 is a bit more precise. Pawn to h5 allows Nodirbek a spectacular idea that was not played in the game, but I will use it as a pause the video moment because you guys really want to solve this one. You will feel great for the entire day, if not the entire week. So have at it. Feel free to pause the video and win the game for white while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting that all of Wesley's pieces are completely paralyzed. And what I mean by this is that they really are. But it's very hard to see why. Point is that here Nodirbek played g captures on h5, which is not what you want to do. Here you want to play g5, push the knight back or forward, doesn't really matter. If knight to e4, you're just gonna capture it at some point. But first rook to a8 with check. And after the king moves, now you eliminate this knight, which is basically black's only active piece. Captures, captures, and now a very important move, bishop to d6. And why it's important, because you really want to play b5 and trap the bishop on d7, so you can trap it with rook to d8, but you don't want to allow black this freeing e5 move. This forces you to react as it comes with tempo, then the bishop gets this diagonal. So what you want to play is bishop to after this, instead of b5, bishop to d6, and now there really is no good way to play this. Even if you give up the d4 pawn, you can allow bishop captures on d4, now just pawn to b5, and the bishop has no squares. Rook to e8 will just trap the bishop. Whatever you do, bishop g7, rook to d8, and the bishop is trapped. You could try maybe some other tricky ideas if after this d captures on e4 move and bishop to d6, you try the immediate e5. Okay, you can free up your light square bishop, but then you have to allow d captures on e5, and now look at this. Now your dark square bishop is completely trapped. The rook and bishop cover the f8 square, pawns cover f6 and h6. The rook cannot move a single square. The bishop can only roam this diagonal. I mean, that's no way to live, let alone play chess. So that was possible when Wesley pushed h5, but that's the beauty of Fischer random. You just don't expect such a thing to be possible, and also it's move 27. They still need to make 3 more moves to reach time control. So Nodirbek played g captures on h5. He played it pretty much with the same idea, only without actually blocking the position here and trading the bishop for knight. So here knight captures on h5 by Wesley, bishop to d6, and now bishop captures on d4. He does go for rook to a8 with check, king to g7, and now knight captures on d5. Very nicely done, because if the knight is captured, then bishop captures on d5, and the rook now has no squares. You have to give it up. So after knight captures on d5, we have bishop to c6, and now bishop to f8 with check, king h7, and now knight to f6 check, giving up this knight for the bishop on c6. So bishop captures on f6, bishop captures on c6, we have rook to c7, but now pawn to b5. Again, not allowing this rook to move. Rook covers a7, bishop covers b7, and d7, the other bishop covers e7, so the rook has no squares really. So bishop to e7, you have to activate it somehow, so you offer a trade of bishops, and now you are able to sort of activate it, but this also allows Nodirbek a very, very simple winning position. Bishop captures, rook captures, and now just pawn to e3, and again, there's no good way of activating the rook. So knight to f6, we have rook to b8 going after the b pawn, knight to d5. This is one last attempt at defending the position by Wesley, and it's a nice one. If Nodirbek gets greedy and he goes pawn to e4 to kind of chase away the defender of the b6 pawn, then after, let's say, knight b4, rook captures and rook to a7, you will still have some counterplay, and it's not going to be all that simple pushing that b pawn to victory. But instead, Nodirbek just trades bishop for knight, e captures on d5, and rook captures on b6. Goes into this rook and pawn endgame where he is up past b pawn, and the only way for Wesley to defend this is to play rook to e5. But Wesley played pawn to d4, and now the position is completely winning for Nodirbek. But you have to realize why. E captures on d4 was played, rook to d7, preparing to recollect the pawn. And now only one winning idea for Nodirbek, and I'm pretty sure you guys see it. You have to start advancing your b pawn. One way you don't want to do it is by putting the rook on b8. This is having the rook in front of your passed pawn, when in fact you want to have the rook behind your passed pawn. Now let's say rook captures on d4, b6, rook to b4. Now your opponent has his rook behind the passed pawn, b7, king g7, and you are never getting this rook off of the b8 square, as the b7 pawn will hang. So the way to do it is to play rook to f6. Beautifully played, as it comes with tempo. Now if rook captures on d4, first you're gonna grab this pawn with check, and now you go back rook to b7, but now you're up 2 pawns, so that's completely different. So instead, after rook f6, king to g7, Wesley has to defend. Now rook f3, now shifting the rook to b3 and putting the rook behind the passed pawn. So rook captures on d4, rook to b3, rook to d7, and now pawn to b6. We have rook to b7, Wesley blockades the position, and now king to g2. We have king to f6, we have king to g3, king to f5, king to g3, king to f5, pawn to f4 by Wesley, king to f6, and now king to g4. We have king to g7, king to g5, f6 with check, and king to g4. We have f5 with check. Nodirbek is basically waiting for Wesley to deplete all of his useful pawn moves. So we have king to f3, king to f6, king to e3, we have king to e6, and now king to d4. And let me just check something real quickly. Not really sure at which point. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense, definitely. So here in this position, king to d6 was played, and now Nodirbek played pawn to h4, and he was in this position on move 55 that Wesley so resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. The problem is now this is a Zugzwang. If you've ever seen one, whatever black plays completely deteriorates his position. If you push the pawn, Nodirbek just wins it. If you move the king, king, you allow the white king to infiltrate, for example, king c5, then king d7, you can just play rook check, and then the king moves, you can just win some squares here, rook here, king here, and then you advance the pawn to victory. If the king goes the other way, it doesn't really matter. Then if the king goes here, you just go here, you collect the pawns. You don't really care about this pawn anymore because you are winning these pawns. And if you don't do either of the king moves, if you just move the rook, then just b7. And again, black really achieved nothing. Again, you will have to make a king move, and once you make a king move, doesn't really matter which one, then we can again start advancing our king e5, you go after the pawns, and that's it. So elementary endgame, and of course that's why Wesley resigned after Nodirbek pushed h4. There is nothing more to be done here. So very, very tough defeat for Wesley So, who had a win in game 1 with the white pieces, like I said already, before move 20, and then throughout a few times throughout the game, but it was so incredibly complicated, he was unable to grab the full point. Nodirbek defended well, and then in the second game, Nodirbek just went into an endgame. He outplayed Wesley, and it basically all came down to this move where Wesley decided to defend the... sorry, not here, but yeah, just sorry about that. Where is the position? Yeah, no, this is already lost. Yeah, where is that position? Where that weird one? Okay, I'm kind of losing my mind here. It's way before that. This is really weird. Sorry about that. No, this is already the rook. What am I going mad? What is this? The g5 move. Okay, we know that the g5. Ah, yeah. Okay, here. I mean, silly me. Sorry about that. Yeah, I thought it was after the g4 g5 idea. But yeah, here. Basically, it all comes down to this, where Wesley just should have given up the b6 pawn, went after the b4 pawn, but instead he defended his pawn, and I believe that's what allowed this this to just happen. Even by Nodirbek missing that brilliant idea by trapping the light square bishop, it was still too hard to defend. But yeah, that's the game. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I said that we were going to discuss the standings after we show at least one more game. So these are the standings. You have the two groups, Nodirbek now leading his group, and Magnus and Hikaru, Vladimir Fedosov and Matthias Blubam in the other group, and Hikaru is leading his group with 4 points. And okay, Hikaru and Magnus kind of are the favorites, and you expected them to advance from their group, but in this group where you have Nodirbek, Jani Pomniši, Wesley So, and Hjora Stein-Gretterson, it's not as clear as what will happen, because now Nodirbek is the leader with 3.5 points, and you have Jani Pomniši and the world champion in Fischer Random, Wesley So, on 2 points. So not all 3 of them will advance. Two of them have to drop out. So it will be very interesting to see what happens. But okay, two more days of group preliminaries will be very interesting to see what happens. So yeah, that's the game and the standings. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Sorry about me going a bit crazy here at the end. I really thought it was after g5. But yeah, what are you going to do? I mean, it's Fischer Random, weird positions. You know, you don't expect certain positions to be hard to find. But yeah, once again, really hope you guys enjoyed it. Beautiful played by Nodirbek. We'll see what happens in the other 2 days of the preliminaries. I would like to thank Stephen Pryor, Seshadri Subramanian, John Shirtliff, Kaveh Haliamadi, Treats for Medo, and Jeff Morrow for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of this wonderful Fischer Random World Championship until it finishes. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.